Well, hey everybody, it's Chris DeFurio from Keys to the Shop, and welcome to another edition of Shift Break, a short format episode on Thursdays that helps us kind of zero in on one topic that'll really help you in your coffee shop. So today's episode is brought to you by La Marzocco at lamarzocousa.com. Reach out to them, info at lamarzocousa.com. Their salespeople are awesome, and they will help you find the right espresso machine for your coffee shop. The right espresso equipment is so important. This is the cornerstone of your cafe. You need it to be dependable. You want it to be beautiful. Some innovation that also keeps up with the standards of espresso for today. And that is what La Marzocco is known for. They've been doing this for almost 100 years. They're all handmade in Florence, Italy. And you've got lots of different options to choose from. Technologically advanced to very simple, different configurations that will definitely suit every need you have. Check them out for your espresso machine needs and their awesome grinder, the Swan grinder that just came out. Check it all out at lamarzocousa.com. Now, today's episode is also brought to you by our friends at Rattleware. They make a big deal out of small wares. You know, all those little things that help your bar actually work. You call it minutia, you call it just like the whisks and the shot glasses, the pitchers, all that stuff actually creates the foundation of your business. And if it's not working, it's really annoying. It's not even just annoying, it's disheartening. And that just snowballs into like, this feeling, right? But that's what drives Rattleware, is making things that just work so you can just work, right? So go ahead and go to rattleware.com. Check out what they have to offer. You definitely are in the market for small wares, as is everybody. But whenever you see that Rattleware brand, you know you're in for something solid, dependable, and awesome. So thanks, Rattleware, and check them out, rattleware.com. Okay, everybody. Well, today I wanted to talk to you about coffee training, barista training again. And specifically, I wanted to talk about the two buckets that ongoing barista training should fit into. And this is assuming, and if you don't have this, I think you should have it, is a focus on ongoing barista training. Not just onboarding. Onboarding has been this thing that people try to perfect. You know why? Is because they think of it as like a perpetual energy machine. Like they believe in the unicorn of, if I can just get the onboarding right, then it's just like, ooh, the baristas are going to be good for the rest of their time here. And if it wasn't a great time, then maybe the onboarding wasn't right. I just got to convince them the first 7 days and then be hands off, and they should coast the rest of the way. That's just not the way it works. That's not the way it works. People get tired, people forget, people need reminders. You do too. This is maybe why you're listening to this show, is because you need the circulation of ideas to continue to flow in your body, and that recirculation of the same thing again and again, like the blood in your body. If that stops, you're dead. Okay, so the same thing is true about information and training standards and all that stuff. And there's two buckets that fits into. If you're developing an hour or even 2 hours per barista per month, ongoing checkup and training and resourcing, then you have to fit them into these two categories. There's supplemental, and then there is cafe specific. So supplemental is everything from caldi to processing methods. And I'd say processing methods because a lot of that information for most coffee bars remains up here and you rarely get a chance to speak it out. But let's just talk about like interesting history about, the Kellogg family and coffee, and, or what about interesting history of the discovery of coffee, and this supplemental information about the way coffee farms work. And it's fun. We've got books. I got books back here. You can see behind me in every video, there's books about coffee. That information, 0.001, maybe even 0.0001% of that information ever makes it out of a barista's mouth to a customer's ear. And that's not a tragedy. Thank God that doesn't happen, because most of the time customers are just like, oh, okay, well, and is that my latte? Okay, thanks. I'll see you tomorrow. That's the great thing about our business, is that we get to enrich ourselves with great information, supplemental information for our own edification. Largely, it doesn't affect, I say largely, sometimes it does, knowledge about how coffee reacts in the decaf process, or knowledge about, natural coffees and darker roasted coffees sometimes needing slightly lower water temperatures versus coffees that are lighter roasted or more dense coffees. That stuff is helpful information. It's not consequential per se to a customer in the actual conversation, but to the product, it can be very helpful. So there's a bit of a crossover between supplemental information and specific cafe information. But supplemental, largely, again, knowledge about the industry, first, second, third wave, and all this stuff. This is for our own edification, and we are in need of inspiration and to feel good about our work, because when we feel good, we do good work. And that's fine. It's great to be inspired by going to a coffee shop and watching them work. And, you can feel a general sense of, energy from something like that without having to actually have a game plan afterwards and make it an assignment, like an academic assignment. So there is some benefit to your company providing this kind of a refreshing supplemental exercise in professional refreshment and edification. And then there is the other part of it. You don't want to just stay there with the supplemental. You want to make sure that you are giving people continually the opportunity to keep their skills sharp. And in order to do that, you need to provide them with an outside perspective on the skills that they're in the work. It's their body, it's their hands and eyes and ears, and they're working in. If you ever videotaped yourself and watched yourself, you'll know you've had that moment like, I didn't know I did that. Oh my goodness, I can't believe that. Any barista competitor will tell you, once they're practicing and they go through the regional competitions and they watch themselves back on video, they'll see this weird look they have when they're grinding, and it makes their face look weird, or the way that they're talking to the judges and what they're fidgeting with their hand. You don't know what you're doing sometimes, in spite of your best efforts. We need outside perspective to help kind of bring us into a higher level of operation within the cafe. And ongoing education and training has to be not only a little supplemental for this energy, for inspiration, but it also has to be focused on the work itself to create success for the person, so that their milk temperatures remain good. The level of foam, the ability to dial in and taste, and knowledge about the product, and all of this stuff makes a huge difference in pride of work. When it's day after day the same drink, sometimes you don't get the chance to actually practice. Yes, you can use every beverage as an opportunity to practice, but having that time to zero in on something, to really tune into your doing scales on the guitar. Nobody's going to hire you to do a birthday party or a concert or something as a guitarist to watch you do scales, but scales are helpful, and they help when you can zero in on dialing in espresso. When that hit in the morning comes, when that long line comes and people are getting a ton of these lattes, that information that you learned about dialing in is going to come in handy, because you switched because you switched the roast date in the bag of coffee in the hopper. And now, it's pulling differently. But guess what? We've been working on dialing in. We know exactly what to do now. We're not lost. We're not blaming the grinder. We're not blaming the roaster. We're not cursing the fates. We're actually equipped to work well. That happens mostly in ongoing training and education. And that has to be something that owners, you make room for in your budget. If you're spending money on anything, ongoing training and education in your cafe for your baristas to do great work constantly, fighting the slow decline of skill, the constant entropy. The law of entropy here is it works with skills as well. And so we have to provide this environment that is constantly putting resource into people and their ability to do well and feel good doing it and be inspired as well. So it's kind of 50-50 here. If you're going to focus on anything, I think even trying to really focus on inspiring people to do great work in the cafe above anything else, and recognizing that work as one of the most praiseworthy things that they hear from your lips when you're talking to them about how much you appreciate them, that's going to go a huge distance when it comes to what they can do for the benefit of the customers and therefore the benefit of the company, and how they help each other too. Unity in the cafe is often something that people find for themselves when it's not being provided around something that the owners or leaders provide. I always recommend, let's start unifying ourselves around and taking pride in and encouraging and finding energy from the work, and everything else on top of that becomes your unique culture and expression of your beautiful coffee bar and beautiful coffee people. So anyway, that's it for today. It makes sense to me. I hope it makes sense to you. And I will see you here next week on another edition of Shift Break, from keys to the shop.